All right, we're going to make sure this is recording as usual before we get started. Let me see. All right, there we go. We're good. We're live. Today is the 27th, so welcome in. This is Say It Loud, the place for discourse. If you haven't been here before, then welcome. I'm glad to have you. We got to talk about quite a few things. We're going to talk about Greg Bovino, the commander of CBP, being demoted, being kicked out of Minneapolis, because of all of the horrible judgment calls that he's been making. And the way things are going under his leadership are not panning out very good on the Trump administration. So they're done with him for the most part. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about TikTok. TikTok is losing its popularity. They said about 150%. They've had 150% more downloads after after the recent U.S. acquisition. So we're going to talk about that for a little bit. We might get into Jasmine Crockett. I know a lot of people felt a little bit wary of my statements about Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico, but I have some more stuff to present to the jury, so we might get into that. We're going to talk about the Black Panthers, the Black Panther Party. There was a gentleman that was part of the Black Panthers. He ended up putting out a video. It was about, at the time when I saw it, about 230,000 views. So if you haven't seen it, I'm going to talk about it a little bit. And he gives some thoughts on, the Black Panther Party and their tactics, and what he's seeing today with all of these Customs and Border Patrol, ICE, the leadership, and his response and his guidance on how to act so that, if you're part of, I don't want to call it the resistance, but if you're part of the opposition, how you should be carrying yourself in terms of what's going on with the Trump administration. So we got quite a few things. There's some other things up here. I don't know if we're going to get to them, but if we do, I promise you they're all going to be a little interesting. Let's talk about Greg Bovino. Here we have MS Now. Let's go ahead, check this out, see what they're reporting on about him being fired, him being demoted, and then we're going to get into some other stuff.
There's a development in this story to tell you about. It's being reported by the Wall Street Journal, which cites multiple administration officials in reporting that Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino will imminently leave Minnesota along with some of his agents. That's according to Trump administration officials. Bovino had emerged as this is the Wall Street Journal's reporting, quote, Bovino had emerged as a public face of the Trump administration's immigration enforcement activity in the state, accompanying agents on operations. Quote, following the fatal shooting over the weekend of Alex Preddy by a Border Patrol agent, Trump has signaled a willingness to wind down some of the administration's operations there. Also in the Wall Street Journal, quote, on Monday, the president said Tom Homan.
And you got to remember, that's 100% because it's reflecting badly on Trump, right? When the Renee Good thing happened, they rushed out and they said, oh, well, she's a domestic terrorist. Then we have all of this stuff with babies being tear gassed in the car, the 5-year-old that got arrested with his dad, and then they got sent down to Texas. They're in that facility down there. And then this thing with Alex Preddy. It's so many things that are happening. And then to be the face of the agency where the people are that ended up being the person that shot Alex Preddy, it's not a good look. And it's not a good look on Trump. It's it's bad PR. And if there's one thing that Trump cares about is the way that he looks on television, his ratings and all of this stuff. So, Bovino got to get the boot. He's being sent over to California.
His border czar would travel to the state. Michelle Norris is still with us. Michelle, importantly, Gregory Bovino had been...
I don't want to rush past that real quick. They said that Tom Homan, the border czar, the gentleman that's supposed to be down on the Texas border, making sure that things are, who also took a bribe, a $50,000 alleged bribe last year in 2024, and then had his charges dismissed by Trump. We talked about that before. You can go and find that video. But this gentleman has to be pulled away from what it is that he's doing to go up to Minnesota, to Minneapolis specifically, because of how horrible the job that Kristi Noem and Greg Bovino are doing up there. I'm not saying that Tom Homan is going to come in and clear it up and things are going to run smoothly. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is they're doing such a terrible job that they said, hey, let's import this guy that's supposed to be doing this other role and bring him up here just to save face, just to get a new face, some fresh eyes on the situation up here and see if we can turn this thing around. So, this is like when you're in school and they have the worst kid in the class and he has to be like isolated from everybody else because he just doesn't know how to play by the rules. This is what Greg Bovino was experiencing right now. Trump has taken his desk from the back of the class, putting it outside of the teacher's room. Says, hey, I'm still responsible for you, but I just don't want you anywhere around anything that I'm supposed to be paying attention to right now. Just go outside. Like, you're still in the administration, you're still going to have your job, but go sit outside the door. Don't touch anything.
The subject of a judge's injunction to stop using tear gas against protesters, that judge saying that it was unconstitutional. A subsequent judge stayed that order, but he has been, at least by that judge, recognized as using.
They definitely sped that video up of him throwing the tear gas. It took him a long time. This dude has no idea what he's doing. I believe they said he was an agent or something back in the day, but he absolutely has no idea what he's doing. And he's trying to gas look at this. Let me show you this. Him trying to open up the tear gas so that he can brutalize the protesters that are out there. Because they don't want to be filmed, right? They think it's too much for the public to come out there and film them or ask questions or impede with not like impede their in terms of like stop their arrest, but to impede them or aggravate them or annoy them. They think that you don't have a right to protest, and he will literally tear gas you as soon as he can get the canister open. Check this out. That's loud. Look at this dude. No idea what he's doing. It took this dude 25 seconds. If there was an actual emergency, this is how you know that there was nothing significant going on there. If there was an actual emergency that they needed to clear people out, they would need somebody with actual training that knows what the fuck they're doing. This dude took 25 seconds in order to get that tear gas out. Anyway, this dude has been fired. So here we have a statement from Nick Sorter, who's a right-wing guy. He's a Trump guy, a MAGA guy. It says, major, breaking. Greg Bovino has now been relieved of duty as Commander-at-Large of U.S. Border Patrol. I've exclusively learned. I'll fix that for you, Nick. No problem. This is BS. Trump must reverse this now. Bovino put his life on the line every single day. Oh, yeah, because this is what I'm talking about. These people have like their own fabrication of reality. What do you mean he put his life on the line? The people that are in danger are the citizens. Renee Good. There was another gentleman there was a black guy, I forgot his name, that was shot as well during these ICE operations. I'm not saying that it was specifically ICE or specifically CBP, but there are 3 people that have been shot over in Minneapolis. 2 of them have passed away. And this has only been since the start of the year. We're not even out of the first month, and 3 people at least have been shot by these operations. So what is he talking about? Bovino was putting his life on the line. Anyway, it says Bovino put his life on the line every single day, pushing for mass deportations across the country, going head to head with leftists and reminding them who's boss. The people are the boss. We pay to the federal government to do a job. And these agencies, they exist for a reason. They do hold an important job. But their job is not to brutalize U.S. citizens. It's not at all. There's no way to spin that. And this situation that happened with Alex Preddy, it was a tragedy, right? And people are saying, oh, he shouldn't have gotten away, or this should have happened, or we should have done this differently. But it was a tragedy. And those are our employees, federal employees, that took the life of an American citizen. And it wouldn't have been better if it was like a non-citizen. I'm just saying that we're paying for this. It said his family's been on lockdown for months, and despite the constant death threats, he's still in the public leading his men every single day. Do not cower to the Democrats, President Trump. Back Bovino. Nothing that Nick sort of says, I don't know if he thinks like he has some sort of sway, but nothing he says is going to get Trump to put Greg Bovino back in Minneapolis, because it's a bad reflection on Trump and his administration and their ICE policy and all of the tough talk that all of these people in the administration or that are MAGA aligned that they're doing. It's a bad look. There's no way to spin that. That's why they have Tom Homan going out there trying to get this thing back on track. That's why they're saying, hey, or Trump said, hey, I had a conversation with Tim Walz and Jacob Frey, and we kind of found some middle ground, because things just keep escalating because they trying to spin it. Greg Bovino is putting his life on the line. So everybody feels like, oh, I got to ratchet it up more and more and more, the rhetoric and the optics. And Trump is like, hold up a minute. Now it's starting to affect me, and I'm seeing it, and I don't like it, right? So Nick Sorter, too bad for you. It's not going to go the way that you want it to go or that you think it should go. So we had some reporting over on Axios. It says, blame game erupts over Trump's team's false claim Alice Preddy sought massacre. I don't even know how we got to that point, right? As the story goes, these people, they're full of shit. They just lie. Man, Jesus. It said, okay, so the lie is that this gentleman, he brought his firearm, his legally concealed carry permit firearm, which he had in his, in his back, that they pulled out of his waistband before shooting them. They said, oh, well, he brought that because he was looking to have a violent confrontation with these officers. Obviously a lie, because he never took it out, right? They took it out of the back of his waist. And then after securing that firearm from him, they went and shot him anyway. And then somebody did a step back and then continued to shoot him, one of the officers. One of the officers who, Greg Bovino, who's been sent over to California, put on timeout and put on ICE, unironically, this gentleman came out and said, what did they say? Oh, he said you will never learn the identity of the agent that ended up shooting him. He's been reassigned. He's been moved out of the state. So this is where, this is the type of leadership under Greg Bovino, and the reason why he had to be removed, because he's putting a bad light on Trump. It says, that language has now become a source of controversy in the Trump administration. White House officials are blaming Customs and Border Patrol for furnishing inaccurate information, while others are targeting Stephen Miller, White House Deputy Chief of Staff and top Trump advisor. 6 sources with knowledge of the situation told Axios. See, the issue is that this is the type of rhetoric that they wanted. They were immune to the facts. When it happened with Renee Good, what did they say? Oh, she was about to run him over. She was using her car as a weapon when she clearly had turned the wheels, right? So it was like, oh, I didn't know that you didn't want me to lie to you and make it seem more egregious than what it actually is. Like, I thought that was our entire playbook. So whether it's Stephen Miller or Greg Bovino who did the lie, it could have been any number of them, because they fabricate the truth anyway. So, Greg Bovino was the one that is leading that team out there. So he's the one going to take the blame, but it's not just him. Let's see. It says, immediately after Preddy was fatally shot in Minneapolis at 10:05 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, administration officials in Washington knew they had a potential disaster on their hands, but had little information. The officers directly involved in the shooting all shut up and got lawyers real quick, so there wasn't a lot of information. See, they're trying to spin this as if like they wanted to get to the bottom of it, but none of the officers were forthcoming with the information. J.D. Vance, Trump's right-hand man, literally said, if an officer acts within his federal duty, like if he's on a job, then he's going to get let off. He has impunity. He said that. And then a week later, when he found out that was bad optics, he tried to come back and say, no, I didn't mean it like that. Okay, but you said it, and you are the vice president, so your words carry weight. And if you don't know how to pick them carefully, then maybe you should shut the fuck up, right? So they're trying to pretend like, oh, we didn't have the information that we needed, so that's why we went out there and ran with it. 2 issues. Shut the fuck up. And wait till you gather the information before you rush to judgment and rush to doing a statement. You guys never have any problem hopping online and spewing bullshit any other time. It flows so easily out of your mouth. But this time, when you see that you are so obviously in the wrong and you have people that are 2A advocates on your ass, you're like, oh man, we got to backtrack. We can't be making statements like this and putting the blame on if he has a weapon or not. They really put their foot in their mouth because their first inclination is to blame the victim. So they got what they deserved on this one for sure. It says the CBP officers on the ground furnished a report that White House officials told Axios left officials with the belief that Preddy had brandished a gun. Yeah, like I said, they lied to you in order to spin what happened because that's what they do every time that they give you a report. Renee Good ran him over. It was this person's fault. The gentleman, when you grabbed this kid, he ran away and left his 5-year-old. They've lied repeatedly. Miller heard gun and knew that what the narrative would be. Preddy came to massacre cops. A source briefed on the process of assembling the press statement said. Any earlier comments made were based on information sent to the White House through CBP, Miller told Axios, in response to an earlier version of the story in which others blamed him for the, quote, massacre statement. Stephen Miller never has a problem, saying untruths, saying alternative facts that agree with his worldview or his side, right? Like the MAGA coalition. It's just that this time they also had backlash because of their statements about him brandishing a gun and he shouldn't have it and all of the things that he did wrong by being a legally licensed firearm carrier. They started to get all of that backlash from the right as well. And now they're saying, oh, who can we blame? Who can we put the responsibility on and still keep this thing moving? And who's the lowest on the totem pole here? It's not Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller, he's on desk duty. He's up at the White House pulling the strings, right? So they're not going to out him. They're going to out the field officer. They're going to out Greg Bovino, right? So, chickens are coming home to roost. And here's Greg Bovino. I hope I don't play this with sound. I played it with sound anyway. Here's Greg Bovino trying to act like a badass. I bet his ass ain't acting bad no more. Bullying protesters with all of these officers. He ain't running shit no more. He gonna be over in California, hiding away. And I saw something, maybe he was offered a retirement or something like that. Not entirely sure about that, but he doesn't deserve it. That's for sure. He doesn't deserve it. Somebody has to be held responsible for what's going on over in Minneapolis, more than just hiding you behind, hiding you in another state. It says, Bovino just said, okay, this is where he said that we would never learn the identity. So I'm not going to get into that. I've already talked about that. You guys can let me know what you think. I think that we're 4 weeks into 2026, and there's been a lot of shit going on, and it's starting to roll down the hill to the point where Trump is like, okay, maybe I do want to kind of scale back, and maybe I'm not getting the entire story, and maybe they're trying to spin some things, and he doesn't like the optics, right? He doesn't like the spotlight being on him. He doesn't like the negative press being on him. And I genuinely think that he doesn't want to see, of course, like he's the president, he doesn't want to see Americans get brutalized as well. But the people in his administration that are pulling the strings, that are in his ear, that are telling him some truths and fabricating some others are egging this thing on. And it's reached the boiling point, right? We talked about how there were people out protesting in Minneapolis, and I believe they said like negative 15-degree weather or something like that. You have to be extremely, extremely unpopular for people to be freezing their nuts off and still decide to go protest. Like, that is not a thing that people do. And lo and behold, they're still doing it. So something's up. That should tell you something. All right, so what are we going to talk about now? Let's talk about TikTok. TikTok. This is actually one of the apps that I don't use. I never really gotten into TikTok. It has way too much marketing. But before we get into it, there was a sale of, they kind of wanted to get TikTok like out of the Chinese hands They said, hey, this thing is way too popular. It's kind of out of our control. We don't really like that. Let's get some, let's put some pressure on them to give some authority to our government, to our American companies, so that we can regulate it a little more, right? There's always a looming threat that China is stealing our data, right? So I understand it. But the way that it's going now, people are not happy with the censorship and the new direction that they're trying to take TikTok in. So here is bootlicker Ted Cruz, who actually recently has been in the news about his comments on Trump and Vance and somebody else. I think it might have been Stephen Miller. But here's Senator Cruz, Ted Cruz, whatever role he is in the White House, whoever he is now, saying why it was so important for us to have TikTok. Check this out.
And the two drivers. Today, America's economy is more than 50% larger than Europe's, and the two drivers of that are tech and the shale revolution. It transformed this country, and AI is the same thing. It's a race, and if China wins the race, whoever wins, the values of that country will affect all of AI. We don't want China's values of surveillance and centralized control by the communist government governing AI. We want American values of free speech, of individual liberty, of respecting the individual. So this executive order, I believe, is tremendously important. Thank you for your leadership.
Like I said, that was Ted Cruz telling Trump, hey, we need to get TikTok under our control. And I see you down in the chat. Family, much love to you. It's good to have you back on the stream. I appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. Hope your classes and stuff are doing well. And you know, I don't want to get too much into it, but I hope everything is going well with you. But that was Ted Cruz talking about why we need control of TikTok. Hey, we don't want China's values there. We don't want them doing censorship and surveillance and all of this stuff. Well, lo and behold, we're having our own version of censorship now that it's been acquired over in the U.S., or at least there's some sort of stake that U.S. entities have. Check this out. So it said TikTok users are reporting that political videos have been restricted since the U.S. took over TikTok. And a bunch of people, of course, this had 2.5 million views, and a bunch of people responded. They said, and so the dictatorship rollout begins. What does this one say? Not only videos, even messages. They're literally censoring messages, meaning that they can see what's going on in your messages. They're saying, hey, don't send certain words, don't say certain things. And this is what people warned about with China, only for them to turn around, acquire it, and implement it here in the US, right? Here we go, Epstein. So they type Epstein in the flags. It says, this message may be in violation of our community guidelines. It has not been sent to protect our community. No mention of like, there's nothing egregious here. This is the thing. It's just, hey, we don't want you to say this. And all platforms have this. YouTube has it, Instagram has it, Facebook has it, and it's all to varying degrees, right? But just the mere mention of Epstein is enough to get flagged. The political videos flagged. Like, I saw something, let me see if I have it. This is CNN's page. Check this out. If you look at these views, 993 views, 288 views, 204 views. And then you go to the next one before the acquisition, and they have millions of views. This is CNN, one of the biggest news outlets, you know, in America, in the world. Just completely getting 3-digit views when they used to get, you know, 9 digits or 7 digits at least, not 9 digits. That's a lot of views. They used to get 7-digit views and up. So this is where we are in America, where you're not allowed to say, you know, you don't have as much free speech as you think you have. I had a image here somewhere of all the different media companies and who owns them, and they all are centered, or they're all conglomerated between Trump's allies, right? It's like 6, 7 guys, and they own a bunch of shit. Everything that you talk on, that you interact with daily, they own it. And they've decided that even though we had the value of free speech, you're not as free as you think you are. All right, so that's it on TikTok. I didn't have a lot to say there. I just wanted to show you guys what was going on. But Jasmine Crockett.
So say this. Listen.
So I had talked about her a couple of days ago, and like I said, people were sensitive. Jasmine Crockett is she's older than me, but she's a young black lady, a young black woman. She's in Congress. She's running for a Senate seat. And I said that she is not going to win. I'm obviously black, and people are sensitive, especially when men in general, but black men, say something that is not glowing about somebody that is of our same community. So I feel it. I understand the sentiment. But what I said is she's not going to beat James Tallarico. It's not because she's a woman. It's not because she's black. It's because James Tallarico is doing a phenomenal job at getting his message out there. I talked in the last video about how Charlemagne from the Breakfast Club said, hey, Jasmine Crockett is one of the best communicators that the Democrats had. And I said, no, that's a crock of shit. I don't think that she is. Here's a clip of her during the interview. Now, if you look in this interview, which I watched the entire thing, is 31 minutes, you get to about the 21-minute mark, and that's when the host asks her, like, hey, we spent a lot of time in this 30-minute interview talking about you. Can we start talking about the issues? Basically, that's what she says. But halfway through the interview, this is what Jasmine Crockett had to say.
I don't know when I'll get into all the details, but just know that nobody was talking about this race before I got into it. Nobody was talking about it. And everything is about me. Like that's what it is, right? Like all the noise, it's about me, right? And it is seemingly coming from out of state.
And that's what I have an issue with. The context of this is like, hey, everybody is centered on me. They're dogpiling on me, trying to keep me out of the race, trying to beat me because they're threatened. She said, everything is about me. My issue is, it seems that everything is about you. Not in a, hey, they're threatened by me, or hey, they're trying to get me out of the race because they know how powerful I am. To me, I see Jasmine Crockett as everything's about me and I want to be a superstar. From the time that she's doing the TikToks, she keeps talking about how popular she is. She keeps talking about how she has name recognition. I watched the debate. I watched about like 3/4 of the debate with her and James Tallarico. And that was the first time I really heard her speak at length about what it is that she believes. Every time that I've watched her, it's been, I'm popular. I'm more popular than him. I don't have to spend $1 million to get name recognition. I have it because she called Marjorie Taylor Greene a beach blonde, bad built butch body. It went up, right? It did go up in social media, but social media moments are not going to get us the policies that we need. It's not going to get us the votes that we need. Whether you stay in the House or go to the Senate, you need to have some sort of ideology. What I'm interested in is, how did you arrive at this ideology? Because it's going to inform how you think about the issues in the future. And like I said, the debate that happened on Saturday, when the same day that Alex Preddy was assassinated by the CBP officer, was the first time that I ever heard her talk at length in any of these interviews that I watched about what her policies are and how she came to them. She talks about her past, how she was the first this and that, and that's good, phenomenal. Congratulations to you. I'm sure that you make all the people in your family proud. I'm sure that your constituents that you serve are proud. But I'm trying to get a feel of who you are, and you keep telling me how accomplished you are and how it's all about you, just like she said in this interview. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. I want to show you, let's jump 3 minutes.
Taking corporate PAC money is because he's not on the federal level.
She starts talking about how she doesn't take corporate PAC money, or how James Tallarico is claiming he doesn't take corporate PAC money. Still doesn't get into any of her policies. By the way, she takes corporate PAC money, and she's trying to say like, oh, he isn't better than me because he takes corporate PAC money. He takes money from other corporations. Fine. Point taken.
I will say that, there are people, first of all, in this Senate race, I've not taken any corporate PAC money because I feel like people are trying to.
Still on it. Okay, let's jump.
Can have pride in because they may not feel like, if I give her $5, that's enough. But like collectively, okay, cool. We have caps on it as well. So it's a maximum of $5,000 that you can get in PAC money. I've raised millions of dollars. So I can guarantee you, and no one's ever questioned whether or not my record was tied to any money, because that's where people.
Like I said, talking at length, I guarantee you, I will link this down in the comments so you can check it out if you want to check out her entire interview. But it went on like this and on and on and on. I'm going to jump ahead to show you one part where she kind of got put back on the right track in order to talk about her policies and get her ideas. And once again, this was before the debate.
1,000 bills. That's a lot. So it takes a lot. So it is a slow process, but it is my goal because I'm the one that got in when I got in. But I would say that I would ask for people to have grace around the fact that I am still going to do this in a quicker and shorter amount of time than anybody else in this race. So I just want to be clear on that. I think that if you don't start with affordability, then you just.
Okay, so that's what I was saying. She started talking about her policies, but we're 22 minutes into the interview. She's talking about herself, why she deserves the money, or why she deserves the opportunity and all of this stuff. But never once did she actually get into the policies. And that's what I was trying to relay in that video that I initially did. And I had people say, I had a woman comment, she said, oh, here we go. Another man hating on a woman trying to basically elevate. Come on. Just do your research. Like, get online and do your Googles and find out what her policies are. She said in this interview, I don't have a website up with my policies, but it's coming soon. And then she turned and said, well, this guy didn't have his stuff up. Come on. That's not what we need. You put yourself out there. People want to know where your stuff is, what your policies are, what it is that you're trying to implement. So after the, I believe this was after the debate, like I said, she wasn't going to win. Here are the polls. People, or not a poll, here's Polymarket, which is a betting site, and people are putting their money up saying Talarico is going to win. And we know how that is. When people want to put their money behind something, they have a strong conviction in it. You know, talk is cheap, but when people start putting their money up, you know, that, to me, that weighs a lot more than anything else. They got her at 19%, Talarico at 19%. All right, we're going to move on. I want to show you an interview with Talarico. This is what I've been seeing from him over and over and over again. So this one only has 24,000 views over on Twitter, but let him speak. And this is just the part that people clipped out, right? So they're going to clip out the part that's the best in the interview, but him talking about his experience or what he wants to implement if he gets to the Senate.
Well, as I mentioned, I taught almost exclusively Black and brown kids in San Antonio. I taught a lot of undocumented students.
I'm going to speed this up to 1 1/4. Uh-oh, what'd I do? I done did something. Okay. Are you guys still with me? You tell me who you think is
Well, as I mentioned,
deserving.
I taught.
You tell me who you think is deserving of who's going to win, because I'm really not putting my my money on Jasmine Crockett. I'm really not. I think that she makes some viral moments. I think that she is intelligent. She is accomplished. But I think that she wants to be a superstar more than anything, right? She's talking about her agenda is to fight Trump. How about fighting for what the people want? It's not just about you being head-to-head against Trump, right? So.
Well, as I mentioned, I taught almost exclusively Black and brown kids in San Antonio. I taught a lot of undocumented students. And so they and their families are the ones being targeted by this administration and these unlawful ICE raids. Once we win the Senate majority, a top priority has to be launching a full investigation, top to bottom, into ICE, including its leadership. We have to haul these masked men before Congress so the world can see their faces. Right. We've got to ban them from wearing masks. We've got to ban them from kidnapping people off our streets without a warrant. We've got to require them to disclose their identity, to identify themselves like any law enforcement official. I mean, this is lawless behavior. Yeah. No more secret police, no more disappearing people. This is the United States of America. And we should ensure that we've got a country where we as citizens are not afraid of our government. We should have a country where our government is afraid of us. Yeah. And that's not what we have today. And ICE is terrorizing communities across this country. And we need to put a stop to it. I think the way to do that is to win them Senate majority so we can finally prosecute any abuses from ICE and change.
Now, to me, like I said, this is a cherry pick clip. I found this on Twitter while I was scrolling. I said, okay, let me throw this up as an example. But you tell me where the equivalent clip of Jasmine Crockett is, of her, in a minute or less, in a minute and a half or less, explaining what her ideas are once she gets to the Senate. You show it to me, because all I've seen is TikTok dances, bad bleach blonde, bad butch body. Like, that stuff is cool. It goes viral, but it's not helpful to anybody except getting her some more views, right? I think I have one more thing. Okay, yeah, this is where she was saying that she thinks it's, like I showed this in the first video, where she thinks it's because of her skin color. It says, I really do think that the host said the quiet part out loud, which is basically, if a white man couldn't do it, better over it, then why would a black woman would ever have the audacity to think that she could? Crockett said in an interview in the U.S. Capitol this month, we tried, I don't know however many white men, and they've all lost. The only thing we know for sure is that a white man can lose. Like I said, it's not about her skin. It's about her lack of being forthcoming with what her policy is, what her ideas are, and the things that she's going to do outside of, I'm going to be the person to combat Trump. I can be the loudest voice. We don't just need a cheerleader against Trump, right? And I'm not in Texas, so it makes no difference to me other than the fact that we're going to need somebody to write and push an agenda and help push the agenda of the Democrats overall, which she says she's willing to do. She's ready to be a role player, but that's about it. So it's not enough for me. You guys can tell me what you think about Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico and who's going to win, if you're interested. All right, let me move on. So there was this gentleman that did a video.
Thank you.
This gentleman here, his name is former Black Panther Speaks, Can America Be Saved? So let me copy his video. I'm going to drop this down in the chat as well, so you can check him out at length. I don't want to go over his whole video, but he does say something interesting. And he talks about how, he grew up in the Jim Crow South. I believe he said he was born in the early 50s or, the mid 50s. And he talks about how the Black Panther Party, part of their agenda was armed resistance. Like they were willing to get in those streets, and if they had to get violent with the police or law enforcement, they were willing to do that. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I had somebody comment on the channel and ask me, hey, if it comes to blows, do you think that black people will stand with white people? And what I responded to him is, if it comes to blows, America's done for, right? Like, for one, that's a tragedy. Two, I don't think that civilians stand a chance or should try to combat, like, in some sort of like armed war against the government. Like, it's not going to work out for you. If you think that you're going to win with whatever weapons that you have versus what the military, with the police agencies have, they have these up armored vehicles, it's not going to work out for you. He kind of speaks to that, how the Black Panther Party, through all of their efforts, what they should have done was more of the diplomatic approach. So I want to go through his video real quick. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Let's see where we land.
Panthers had white supporters too. You buy shoes, they'd measure your feet. You pay for them. When you leave, taking them home, hoping they'd fit. Same with the clothes that you bought from the stores. This was normal life. And when I was 13 years old, the Ku Klux Klan chased me home after purchasing a bottle of Excedrin from a store I wasn't allowed to go into because it was mostly patronized by whites and blacks wasn't allowed.
So in this part, he's talking about, like I said, about him growing up in the Jim Crow South and what pushed him to join the Black Panther Party as he got older. So let me skip ahead. I'm going to try to find the part where he starts talking about his ideology and why he kind of regrets the movement that they took or the actions that they took.
Oppression is a system. Oppression uses people. Oppression convinces ordinary citizens to protect it. That distinction matters. because the moment you forget it, you become what you're fighting. I need to say this clearly. Things escalated in those days. There was chaos. People were hurt. Lives were destroyed. Communities paid the price. And here is the part people rarely talk about.
Okay, real quick. So we saw that after the incident with Alex Preddy, or Alex Preddy was murdered by that CBP officer. We saw that after that, businesses started like boarding up their windows and all of this stuff, anticipating either, chaos, riots, whatever it was going to be, whatever reason that they boarded up their windows. And this gentleman is talking about how, situations did escalate to that when he was in the Black Panther Party and during the civil rights struggle and all of that stuff. And how it was a mistake. Like, you're tearing down your communities, you're doing detriment, and you're only ramping it up. You're ramping up all of these things that are going on, and it's not getting you anywhere with the government. What's going to get you somewhere is diplomacy. It's with voting. These people, our system doesn't allow them to stay in power forever, right? You can vote them out. You can give them a kiss goodbye, and, it's going to take some time to get there. Absolutely. And there's going to be a lot of bumps and bruises on the way. But this is somebody that was out there in those streets that was willing to die behind the stuff that they believed in the struggle for civil rights. And he's telling you, hey, we might not have taken the correct approach, the Black Panther Party. And we know all of the stuff with COINTELPRO and infiltrating and the CIA and the FBI doing shit. Like, we understand that. But the larger sentiment is, do the nonviolent approach. Be diplomatic in the things that you're doing. And don't fuck up your own community to spite the federal agents that are going to go home to wherever they're coming from, wherever they came from to come into your city.
Violence did not liberate us. It made the cost unbearable. The overwhelming harm did not fall on the institutions. It fell on us, the people. That's why I am not romanticizing that era. I am warning against repeating it. Because what might have felt unavoidable then would destroy us now. I want you to understand something crucial. The conditions that existed when I was young do not exist today. Back then, power was hidden. Information was slow. Abuse could be denied. If something happened in one city, the rest of the country may never even hear about it. Today, that is no longer true. Every action is recorded. Every response is documented. Every mistake is replayed.
There we go. Everything is documented. Unfortunately, we saw Charlie Kirk. We saw Renee Good. We saw the 5-year-old. We saw Alex Preddy. These people are going to be held accountable and responsible for the things that they do. Are the people that are brutalizing people on the left under the Trump administration, or that are MAGA aligned and kind of like, are these federal agents, are they going to be held accountable during the Trump administration? We don't know, but we can infer that it's not going to happen. But eventually there will come a day when the people have to be held accountable by the next administration. And, that's the time we're going to restore America back to her beauty, right? It's not burning down your neighborhoods and all of this stuff in order to spite the government. Don't do that, right? And don't think that you're going to get out there and do some sort of like resistance and start beating up on the government. You're not. They have way more shit than you. Your logistics are not in order. We don't have it. We don't have it. I'm saying the American people. We got all the weapons and stuff that you could possibly want under the Second Amendment. But I'm talking about in terms of going against the government, people should not do that. So that was a direct response to a guy that said it down in the comments. He kind of inferred it. And I was like, nah, don't do that. So I wanted to play that little piece from this gentleman that was part of the Black Panther Party. You can check out his full video. It's 14 minutes. And I thought it was insightful, coming directly from somebody that grew up in the Jim Crow South, experienced a lot of that harsh reality of segregation, and joined the Black Panther Party, lived to tell the tale, and said, hey, maybe this wasn't all it was cracked up to be or all we made it out to be, right? The Black Panther Party, for all of the good things that they also did, he's saying like, you know, we could have made some different decisions. Okay. Let me see. What was this? Oh, let me go ahead and delete that. I don't need that. Okay, I want to go into, as the last thing, I know I've been on here for, I usually do about an hour. I know I've been on here for a minute. I want to go into the right's response to what's been going on with, to the situation that's happening in Minneapolis and Alex Preddy specifically. Check this out. This is Megyn Kelly. Unfortunately, Megyn Kelly is extremely deranged, and she has like she likes seeing other people get brutalized. I'm not going to say that she has any like, she's never going to get out there and do it herself, but she likes when people on the right, MAGA, the Trump administration, get out there and they beat the shit out of other people. She liked it when they were bombing Venezuela. And then they found out that they may have done a ground invasion in Venezuela. She was scared that there was going to be like a long-term occupation. And then she said, oh, I don't want that. What if my sons have to be involved? And now that she's finding out about what's happening with Alex Preddy and the stuff that's over in Minneapolis, she's throwing her very vocal, very loud voice in there to say, she's happy with it. Again, for whatever reason, this lady has an insane bloodlust. Check this out.
I know I'm supposed to feel sorry for Alex Preddy, but I don't. I don't. Do you know why I wasn't shot by Border Patrol this weekend?
And nobody was surprised by that. So I don't know if she's trying to like surprise us like, oh, I'm not surprised or I don't care. We know, Megyn, you're a maniac. You're a lunatic.
But I don't. I don't. Do you know why I wasn't shot by Border Patrol this weekend? Because I kept my ass inside and out of their operations. It's very simple. If I felt strongly enough about something the government was doing that I would go out and protest, I would do it peacefully on the sidewalk.
No, the fuck she wouldn't. She would stand behind that mic, voice it, and then tell you to go protest. And if you got fucked up by the government or you were down there on January 6th, she would complain about it. She's not going to get out there and do the work. And honestly, this is one of the reasons that I hate these folks. This is why I just did the segment about the gentleman in the Black Panther Party, because I'm never going to tell you to do something that I'm not going to go do. Megyn Kelly will say, hey, let's bomb the people over in Venezuela. I don't care if we blow their limbs up. I want to see more. I want to see them fighting for their life, clinging to the shipwreck, and I want to hit them again. She said this. This lady with, I think she has like millions of subscribers. She has a Sirius XM show. And what she's going to say is, oh, we should do the bombing in Venezuela. Oh, if you got shot by ICE officers, Renee Good, it was your fault. If you got shot by CBP officers, it was your fault. This lady with a huge platform, a huge voice, and she's going to say, I would get out there and I would resist if I had something to resist for. No, you wouldn't, Megyn Kelly. You would sit behind that mic and you would incite other people to do it. And then you'd be perfectly safe at home. And I hate people like that. You're not going to get out there and put in the pain in order to see your agenda pass or see the changes that you want to see. So I respect everybody's right to protest and, you know, all of your rights. But what you shouldn't do is let somebody incite you to do something that they wouldn't do. And I'm not going to do that on this channel.
Without interfering via a whistle, via shouting, via my body, via any other way. I would make my objections known by standing there without interfering, because interfering.
I would stand there and be silent. So just stay the fuck home. You're not going to go anyway, but you're trying to tell people the right way to protest, the right way to express your First Amendment right. You should just stand on the side and be quiet. You should hold a picket sign and you should let the CBP officer push that lady down on the ground. The lady could have been pregnant, something, she could have been disabled, and they wouldn't have cared at all. Because she was standing there filming and they were agitated, they pushed her on the ground. Then when Alex Preddy did the brave American thing to do and say, hey, let's let cooler heads prevail, they wrestled him. 7 people dogpiled on top of him, wrestled him to his stomach, removed his firearm, and then fired a firearm into him. They step back multiple steps and continue to fire into him. And Megyn Kelly's best advice is you should have been the fuck out the way. No, this is crazy. These people are out of their fucking minds.
Is where you go south. And laying hands on a police officer trying to, or Border Patrol officer or ICE officer trying to conduct a law enforcement operation is a felony. And now you are going to get arrested. And if you do anything that resembles resisting, you're in serious trouble.
Yeah, the right wing's message to everybody that exercises their rights, whether it be the First Amendment, Second Amendment, is you deserve to die. That's their message, and never forget it. Let's move on. This is one Nick Fuentes, who, you know, he has a big platform. People love this dude. People love him. They worship him like he is their God. He is their Jesus. And I've done other videos on Nick Fuentes, and people always come to tell me how, oh, Nick Fuentes is way smarter than you. He's way more intelligent than you. Like, just get down and lick his fucking feet. Wash his fucking feet. Since you want to be a bootlicker so bad, go wash his fucking feet. Because you're allowed to have different opinions than Nick Fuentes. This dude isn't always right. And he even understands that, because he'll say something on one stream and then turn around and say an entirely different thing on the next stream, or stream a week later or a month later. And what you guys will do, you Nick Fuentes supporters, you fucking bootlickers, you'll agree with him the first time, and then when he switches and contradicts himself, like the hypocrite that we all are, you'll agree with him when he changes his position as well. You guys have no backbone, but here he is.
So, technically, you can show up to a protest if you are legally carrying a concealed weapon. But again, this is not a protest. You are showing up to impede federal law enforcement.
There doesn't have to be an organized protest. You can there was a gentleman in another video that I watched. He was standing under a bridge by himself with a sign that said something like, deport ICE officers or something like that. Basically, get them out of Minneapolis. You don't have to be in an organized 2-person, 5-person, 100-person, thousands of people protest in order for you to stand there and say, hey, I'm voicing my opinion. You can be by yourself as a singular person and still be protesting. This doesn't make any sense. And this is who people are following. This is the ideology that people are following. Well, if you're not a group, then you're not protesting. You're there to impede law enforcement.
With a loaded gun, concealed.
Which you're allowed to have. It doesn't matter if it's concealed. You have the right to carry it, and you have a permit to carry it. So it doesn't matter. You didn't brandish it. You didn't take it out. You didn't threaten anybody with it. It was on your waist, and it was pulled off by the officers before they shot you. Alex Preddy. Rest in peace, man, to that gentleman.
Not only that, you are standing in the middle of the street and you're getting in the middle of an altercation.
You're allowed to stand in the middle of the street. You're not allowed to get into the middle of an altercation, but it's understandable to me. Maybe I'm the only sensible person here, or maybe I'm the only person that has no sense at all. It's understandable that you would see a lady filming ICE officers, they push her on the ground, and you say, hey, wait, pause for a moment. And then they pepper spray you and kill you. It's only sensible to me that you would try to de-escalate the situation or intervene. You know, the nurse that works at the VA that the Trump administration, or some people in his administration, have called a domestic terrorist. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I'm open to that possibility, but I don't think that I am.
Watch the video closely. Border Patrol is apprehending 2 agitators who, again, are there to impede law enforcement. We don't know exactly what led up to that moment, but they're blowing whistles. They're in the street.
Not illegal.
They're chasing ICE through the streets. Border Patrol is apprehending.
He has the whole story worked out, but admits we don't know what led up to that moment. What we see on the video is the ICE officers cross the street, push the lady in the snow. Alex Preddy reaches out to stop them. They wrestle him on the ground, take his gun, and kill him. But Nick Fuentes has it all figured out. You know why? It's because just like Megyn Kelly, Nick Fuentes thinks that you deserve to die if you don't agree with the tactics that ICE and CBP are using. These gentlemen that are allowed to have been trained for 47 days and released and unleashed onto the streets of America, onto the American public. This is what's happening. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's not, oh, well, we think they're undertrained and they're going out there and killing people. They are. It's documented that they've been undertrained because they want to boost the numbers of officers so that they can boost the number of arrests so that Trump has more deportations. The theory is so that Trump has more deportations than Obama. But what do I know?
Somebody that they're trying to arrest. You stand in the middle of the street with your loaded gun, you run up on Border Patrol trying to arrest somebody and get in the middle of that. At that point in time, you forfeit your life. Okay? Would it be ideal if he were detained and arrested? Certainly. If they knew his intentions, but they don't. They don't know your intentions. What they see is that they are surrounded. They are being chased through the streets. They are being harassed. A masked man with a loaded gun is running up to them at close range and getting physical. What conclusion can they draw in a split second?
Nick Fuentes, I would like you to use your entire brain. Nick Fuentes is college educated. Maybe he didn't watch the entire video. I'll give him a little bit of leeway there. Maybe. That's not the account on the video. Your account of the situation is not the account that happens on the video. I will repeat it again. This is say it louder. I will repeat it again. I will say it louder for you. Alex Preddy does interfere. You could say that he should or shouldn't. He's wrestled to the ground by 7 officers. They're so in fear for their life that after they remove the weapon, the legal firearm that he has from his back, they shoot him. An officer, maybe it's the one that initially shot him, maybe it's not. That officer steps back, is walking in reverse, and continues to unload his firearm, his clip, into Alex Preddy. Maybe Nick Fuentes didn't see the entire thing. This is not me putting a spin on it. This is not me adding extra to it. This is me telling you the exact account of what happened. And you have people on the right, some people that are still deranged, they're bloodlust, and they don't give a shit about your rights. They don't give a shit about you, that will tell you this is okay. These same people cried about Charlie Kirk, rightfully. Charlie Kirk was brutalized. He shouldn't have been brutalized like that. It was a horrible thing to see, and it was a horrible thing to happen to him. And Erica Kirk is having the time of her life leading TPUSA after what happened to him. It shouldn't have happened. How can you look at that situation, find all of the nuance and all of this stuff, and then look at the situation with Renee Good and Alex Preddy and not see any sort of way that the federal agents who are supposed to be highly trained, they're not. 47 days, they get training, these new recruits, but they're supposed to be highly trained. And not only do they kill him on the ground, they continue to shoot him. It just makes no sense. And, I'm not going to beat this dead horse. It is what it is. It is what it is. And something has to change. They're trying to move the gentleman, Greg Bovino, down to California. They're trying to get Tom Homan in there, who allegedly took a $50,000 bribe from FBI agents before Trump was elected. And then they dropped his investigation. They're trying to get that gentleman in there to clean up the image for the Trump administration. So we will see how things go. I think that's about all I have in me for today. You guys can let me know what you think. If you have any thoughts on the video, whether it be any of the topics or just something that I can improve on, let me know. I'm open to suggestions. I appreciate everybody that tunes in. We had about 15 of you guys on this time. And, we're building. I see that the numbers are going up, and I appreciate you guys for coming in. And if you like a hat, they're down in the description. But feel free to just like the video, share it, and enjoy it. And if you like a hat, you want to support the channel, you're free to do that as well. This is Say Aloud at the Place for Discourse. Until next time, peace.